Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is Easy Sports Data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. And we have made it. We have made it. It was tough. That was as long an off season as I have ever seen. I being second half Chaz. I'm joined from John from GMF Sports Consultants. I'm joined with Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing. But the bottom line is, it really was, this pandemic's made everything harder than it normally would be. But we made it, gentlemen. We have made it. Blackhawk West, you started already very, very well.
We were absolutely red hot. It started Wednesday night, then we got into Thursday night play and Friday, but the picks that I posted for the members went 6-1 with a 2-1 CFL, and then as we broke it down,
there was some dogs barking on that list.
Yeah, there sure was.
That's not equal, right, John? Am I right that you give me a money line dog that wins? It's not like giving me a play. It's like giving me a play point something.
That's a lot of extra bonus money that you're giving out, and I love plus plays. Those are great. Anytime you can get them, you get a couple of those a week, and that really makes a difference. Believe me.
No, and it really has become finding them. They're there. If you look on Monday, you will see them from Sunday. If you look on Sunday, you will see them from Saturday. The question is, will you see them Thursday when you talk to us? And you know what? Yes is the answer. Yes is the answer, because that's not the first time he's done it. Nor you, nor me. The bottom line is, and I will be honest, I don't see that many. I don't look at the lines. What I know is the same thing with horse racing. Wes, you could attest to this. The odds have nothing to do with it, because those are what the other human beings think, and I don't like those people to begin with. Am I right, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. The odds have everything to do with, I mean, the line starts in a place, and you've said it before, the numbers there just kind of to mess with us, but then it's up to the humans to lay their action, and it moves the lines. Tonight's game started at a 7.5 point number or a 7 point number. It is up to 9 in most places, and John can attest to it. It's all of the Tampa action that's out there, and that's what the humans have done to this line. They've brought it to 9.
No doubt about it. Right. So let's talk about, because we got a unique situation. We pride ourselves on doing live action. There ain't nothing to do live action on. There's no college games tonight. This will be the last Thursday for a while. Would you both agree that we're going to say those words, right? And even tomorrow, there's just a fraction of games, but there's a couple nice ones tomorrow. I know Wes is all over one of them. But let's talk about last weekend. John, we always talk about with college football, with the NFL, with CFL, when anything comes back for the first time, you tread lightly. But even when it's a pandemic, it's even more, because you couldn't tell. You can't use and okay, maybe I should rephrase that. Am I wrong in thinking, John, that you can't really use last year's 2020 results for most of these teams I'm looking at?
Yeah, pretty much, especially for college, because a lot of them had, very limited games. They played a small select schedule. They only played certain teams, maybe only in their conference, so you don't really get a good sample size. Something to look at, yes. Can you take last year's numbers into perspective and really get a hold of it? Absolutely not. And this is what makes handicapping hard, and this is what makes this year, especially the first couple of weeks, very tough. So you got to tread light. I almost do that in every sport, because you never know. And it's all about building the bankroll up.
Right. Let's do a yin yang for John. John, last weekend, your best college football story, your worst college football story?
For the weekend, well, I'll start off with the worst because I was all over that Wisconsin game for Penn State, and they had a lot of opportunities in the first half. And, that was brutal for me watching it. It was a tough watch. We had some life in the second half. Then Penn State kind of blew us over. But pretty much after I got that out the way, I mean, we just started rolling. Obviously, UCLA, we had some live action going in with Marshall.
Oh,
big play on Marshall.
That Penn State game was a bad beat. You blew that off because you said that it was a bad beat. There was like 30 seconds left. They marched 60 yards off an onside kick. They got the ball with less than a minute left.
Marched
on the field and scored again to cover the second half.
There was a lot of tough plays in that game, especially from the first half. So I already kind of knew how that game was going to go after that. But like I said, I got the worst over with early in the morning because obviously I'm here in Vegas. So that was about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And then after that, we pretty much almost steamrolled the rest of the night, which was fantastic. A lot of big plays, a lot of good plays from Saturday and going into Sunday. So it was.
You had a late dog, right? You had a late dog, Nevada.
Oh yeah, Nevada Wolfpack. Let's go Wolfpack, baby. Yeah, we called that. I had Marshall, which was kind of under the radar. West put me onto a team total, which we cashed pretty nice on. UCLA, that was a plus dog money winner that we kind of talked about before. So it actually worked out pretty good. Late night was great. Great nightcap. I cannot complain with week one whatsoever.
Good. Now, same thing, Wes. Give me, any order. I don't really care the order, but the yin yang, the best and the worst.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what the best was. I mean, it was a great day, but I'll tell you what the best was. Watching that A&M against Kent State, and the whole stadium, as well as the coaches, they knew what the number was. They knew. And A&M was ahead by 31. I called it out on this show last week that A&M was the team I was the most confident in to cover the spread. With call it 5 minutes to go, Kent State is kicking a field goal. They're down by 31 points. They're kicking a field goal. And I'm sorry, you will not convince me that he does not know the number. They missed it, wide left. Then they come back, and there was about 30 seconds left to go in the game, and they pulled the same move, wide right. Now, at this point, I'm saying some things that are not very nice, and I won't repeat, about that Kent State head coach. But when they went wide right, there was a lot of I told you. There was a lot of, yeah, there it is, give me mine kind of stuff. That was a great moment because it's not very often that a short field goal like that gets missed. And, we've all been on the twice. But that was a coach that was clearly out to bust the spread. And so just being on the winning side of that, that's quite a thrill. And then, I was on the other side.
I have to interject before you get to your other one because I will forget. Remember, it's a short week. I've done a lot of stuff in 4 days that I normally do in 5. But in our defense, sometimes, you know what, we were betting on a coach because when Florida State was given 18 and they were good and Tennessee was good and we were saying get one for the boosters. So you know what, you can't really hold it against them if maybe as they got on the plane when the boosters 38.5. This is a guy that donates 7 figures. You're going to try to kick that field goal again.
There was obviously somebody in that earpiece, and it was somebody up there. It was nobody in the coaching box, I can tell you that. But there was somebody in that earpiece.
Don't forget the car dealership guy.
Yeah. So, there was that. And, I would say the low point, we were on Houston. And Houston didn't win. They didn't cover. They didn't do anything. And, that was a tough game to watch. But, you can't win them all. And, I had a friend with me that was on Florida, and he jumped in mid-game, and he got beat by the hook. But if you watched it, the Florida head coach, with 30 seconds left, was trying to run, didn't need the score. He was trying to score, and then when he didn't get it, they took the knee. But that was hard to watch because it gouged him pretty deep. He had some fanboy stuff going on, along with the fact that he had a financial investment in the game. So that one was hard to watch, but it was a great Saturday. And John's surprised with the question about Marshall. I wasn't even looking at that game, and then boom, it cashed for us a couple times.
No, it really is about the more eyeballs you have. When we started this show, it's as many calls, what was it? It was as many opinions on as many games as 1 hour can handle. That was really what we do. And it is, when you have more opinions, you can look at games that you might not look at. And then all of a sudden you see. So I looked at some stuff this week. So where are we at? We got no live action yet. We're not. I don't know. I might have to get some professional help. My hands are kind of shaking a little. I'm a little dry in the mouth. I got no live action, man. I got no live action. But we had such fun and such a long winning streak with live action. So that's part of me. So let's talk about this. Next week, guess who's playing? My home team. UL Lafayette. Remember, I got stuck in Lafayette. I became a finishing. I'm going to do a shout out.
Cajuns.
I'm going to do a shout out to Edie's Biscuits. They're probably already in bed because they open at 3 in the morning. They're open from 3 to 10:30. The best biscuit. I mean, I thought I had good biscuits. Vic's grandmother was from Tennessee, so they made good biscuits. But these Edie's Biscuits were better than any biscuits my mother-in-law ever made. It was so good. But so that's on at 5 o'clock. So we'll be doing some live action next week on that game for sure. What else did I have to hear? So I was supposed to rotate the banners. So I'm going to rotate the banners again. But let's talk about that. I would have lost a bet, Blackhawk West. I would have thought that you were going to say the Sask game was the game that you were upset about. That's what or the yin yang thing that I was talking about.
Yeah, that was the other one. That was a disappointing one to watch because that's the Patrick Mahomes of the CFL. Cody Fajardo is the highest paid player, the most electric player to watch. It was disappointing, but it wasn't a huge surprise. I mean, I was on Sask and I've been on them most of the season because they've won and covered. It wasn't like an just out of nowhere fry pan upside the head because Winnipeg is that good. They just hadn't shown up a couple weeks in a row. So, and at that point,
you have said they're the best too, right?
Yeah, I mean those are the two best teams, and they play each other again this week. Almost every matchup from last week happens again this week. But if it was Ottawa that came out and beat them like that, and plus timing is everything, right? I mean that game took place on Monday. And everything that took place on Saturday and Sunday, there was nothing that was going to cause me to be in a bad mood. I mean, truthfully.
Oh, yeah. No, of course. And now the other aspect of it is, there's no TBD. To be determined is not airing this Saturday due to a conflict with my wedding anniversary. And it really wasn't a conflict. If you want to stay married, that was not really a tough decision in any way, shape, or form. But that being the case, we get to talk about all the Canadian Football League games this week. And for the first time ever in our history, the Easy Sports Data CFL package. I should actually show it. I blew that one, but I'll do a social media post. It's available. If you go to bellyupfantasysports.com and you download the NFL cheat sheet, which takes 32 pages. Now, you guys have seen the data. I've sent it over. 32 pages of that data into 2 pages. And we call it the cheat sheet. And I swear to God, if you woke up in a coma and they revived you and you were at the back of a sports book and you were out, you didn't even know who was playing, you could walk up to the line, assuming the line's fairly long, right? And John, the lines this time of year are all fairly long, unless you're going right in the middle of the game, to get some live action or waiting to cash because you didn't need the money. You could bet the games with this cheat sheet. And some of the stuff we're talking about, guys, are streaks of 11 on a matchup, which is home or away. So there's only 8 in a year. That means the entire season last year, whatever it is they did it. But this week, maybe next week too, when you get that, you get the CFL data absolutely free. And I'm telling you right now, between listening to Wes and reading the data, you're going to cash tickets. It's kind of what we do. So when we get back from break, we're going to just start and go through. I think what we'll do, if it's okay with you guys, we're going to start with Canadian football, then college football, and then the last segment, 100% NFL football. Does that sound like a plan, John?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right. When we get back, what are we going to do? Oh, first we're going to set up for the commercials. But when we get back, we're going to talk college football. with Blackhawk West. No, Canadian football with Blackhawk West. We're going to talk the college football. There's 80-something games again this week. So if it's a 5-11 here in San Diego, that's 8-11 in New York. You're watching it live, and you're on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're on Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. You're on the Sports Betting Channel. But more importantly, it really doesn't matter where you are. You're cashing tickets, and that's all that counts.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. It is very unusual for us to come back from a break and not have cashed the ticket while we were gone. I mean, that is some of the profitablest 3 minutes we have had this year was when we were doing the live action. All right, so we got 3 of you. Whoa, Wes, did you see that? It was spinning, man. It was spinning. Okay, so let's see here. All right, let's see where we're at. We are coming back from break. We're going to talk to Wes about Canadian football. Now, before we do that, John, is this game going to start at 5:20 or is it going to be a later start because it's the opening night?
Yeah, it's not going to start at exactly 5:20. I would imagine probably closer to that 5:30 range. NFL.
So honestly,
NFL wants to make sure they get all the bets in too. So
yeah, exactly. So honestly, John, with referencing live action on this game, do you foresee a situation where the game starts at 5:30, 5:35, where we're making a play before we get off the air? Do you see a scenario like, I'll give you an example. I texted you guys the Kentucky game. The way it started was almost like if Wes was making how to do live action video for his followers on the Chicago Options Traders page, it would have been the Kentucky game, right? They open it up, they stop him, they're driving down the field, hits the guy in the chest, it bounces up in the air, other team gets the interception, they end up scoring to go up 7-0 on a team that is, given, I don't know what they were given, and the line drops to 20.5, and they ended up covering the original line. It was the easiest second half win because, again, that stuff that happened. So is there anything, John, you see in this first, half of the first quarter that is going to make me pay attention and have my book ready to go?
I would maybe look at a team total, and see if there's any opportunities, maybe if they start the first possessions off kind of slow. There's going to be some type of scoring in this game. We're just not really exactly sure. I would have to assume it's going to be on the Tampa Bay side. So, maybe if they come out a little sluggish in the first or second drive, you would have to imagine maybe there might be a play on the team total or maybe a first half total on that end. So that's what I would look at. Once again, this is the first game, Dak Prescott's first game back. And we don't know how he's going to react to that Tampa Bay defense. But on the other side of the ball, Dallas Cowboys had a pretty bad defense last year. Part of it was their fault. Part of it was they weren't able to convert first downs or keeps long sustaining drives because the offense was that bad. But I think Tampa Bay is going to have some opportunities to score. So I'm going to take a look at that and see what we have maybe in the first quarter, first half for either.
Allowed on the road 23 points in 6 of their last 7 games at the end of the year. And that's the other thing we'll talk about after we talk about some Canadian football is, how much does last year matter on some of these teams like the the Bucs that they're talking about how it's the same team. Will they play the same way? Will they play like the end of the year? Will they play like they started the year? Because remember, they didn't start too good. All right, so talk to us, Wes, about the CFL this weekend. A full schedule, 4 games.
Yeah, so it's a full schedule. We got 1 tomorrow. We got 2 on Saturday. Actually, I'm sorry, we got 3 on Saturday. And, what we're looking at, this is now the same opponent as last week. And they're just swapping stadiums in 3 of these 4 games. And it can be very tricky. We saw it a lot in hockey. The CFL traditionally plays this way. They will play teams in back-to-back weeks. So what I'm looking at tomorrow, I'm looking at Hamilton again. Hamilton is now going to Toronto. That could be a harder stadium to play in. This past week, they laid 2.5. Evans looked really good. Hamilton didn't get a ton of activity from their rushing attack. But they won the game, and they won the game pretty convincingly coming off the bye week, 32-19. Toronto can be an intense stadium when the Argos are playing good. But I like Hamilton here getting 2.5 points because I still think that they're going to win the game outright. I said it last week. I think that last week, coming off a bye, after playing against Sask and Hamilton and getting those ugly ones out of the way, after the way they started their season, I thought that they were going to go on a tear. So it was Sask and Winnipeg they started against. So I think this is going to be a nice streak we got going for Hamilton, and I'm going to take the 2.5 points on that one. When we go to Sask and Winnipeg, we're now going to Winnipeg. Winnipeg went into Mosaic and just, made Cody Fajardo look like you throwing the ball out there. And that's a difficult thing to do. Mosaic is a stadium.
Whoa. Were you talking to him or me?
Either one of you. I don't think either one of you. I don't think belongs in a throwing contest against Cody Fajardo.
No, because we talked. You and I talked during that game back and forth by text, and it was ugly. It was ugly football.
Yeah,
no doubt about
it. It was a very uncharacteristic game. But what I saw in that game was the Winnipeg that won the Grey Cup. Winnipeg did it with defense. They held a very good offense to 8 points. And Andrew Harris came back, and Andrew Harris ran the ball, and what a difference that man makes. He's been one of the best running backs in the CFL. So when I look at this game, I'm actually on a different direction than it was last week. I'm taking Winnipeg, and I'm gonna lay the 1 point, and I don't see the result being much different. I don't think Fajardo's throwing 3 picks. I don't think he's gonna have as bad of a game. I think Winnipeg's gonna have to get some offense going at some point. They're gonna get into a shootout. But I do like Winnipeg going into this weekend. And then on Saturday evening, we go Calgary, Edmonton. And
at any point in time, when you're going through the game, you can stop and let us give some kind of input, only because I had a comment that I wanted to say to you. No. But you know how it is when you're dealing with a team that just beat a team. And we saw it in back-to-back in hockey. Now, back-to-back in hockey is back-to-back nights usually too, right? Yeah. Don't they normally go to the next night, or not always, because they're playing home and away? But
yeah.
When you see that, if Sask wins this game, does it change totally how you look at the year, or you think this is the thing where we're in this week now? Because remember, normally this week is sometime in June or July, right? We talked about that. They start early. So when you look at week 6, does these two teams being what you think are the two best teams, is this game really as important as it looks?
It could be. If Sask does not win this game, we're talking playoff seeding. But I still think they're the best. You got that Winnipeg defense, Winnipeg run attack. There's some great players on defense. When you look at Sask, it really, when Cody Fajardo is not playing, that team really starts and stops with him. So I think last week exposed a major weakness. And I think where we sit right now, they're still the two best teams in the CFL. Although Edmonton is getting real hot.
Okay, and then we got that's the first game Saturday.
That's the 6:00 game on Saturday. That's the first game on Saturday is Sask Winnipeg. The second one is a repeat, Calgary Edmonton. And looking at that game, I really liked Edmonton coming off a bye going into that game against Calgary. I thought Calgary had found a way to win a game by getting energized by a quarterback substitution a couple weeks ago. But they kind of settled in. And when you look at Edmonton right now, you got a quarterback in Harris who in 2 games, he's almost 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. I don't care what league you play in, that is red hot. And in last week's game, James Wilder Jr., their running back, did not have his best game. He averaged around 5.4 yards per carry. But didn't put up as much yards as he normally would. He flirts with 100 yards every game, and in the CFL, that's a big deal. And they still won by 32, and that was on the road in Calgary. So now they're going back to Edmonton, and I see the same result. Last week we were able to take 6.5 points, and this week we're going to lay 1.5, and we're going to take the Edmonton Elks.
Yeah, they were an easy winner, and they were getting points.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, that's just you get
a
dog that gets ahead.
That was one of those. I think 3. You mentioned 6-1, but like 3 of them were dogs that covered the money line. So I'll take that all. That's a pretty good record. 3 out of 3. And finally, we got Ottawa and BC.
You got the Easy Sports data in front of you. Everybody is scoring on Ottawa. Last week they gave up, I think 51 points was the number. And now they're going against a team coming off a bye, a team with one of the all-time greats at quarterback. I talk a lot about CFL quarterbacks. There's only 9 of them, so. but
Let me interject. The game is kicked off, so we're going to be paying attention now to maybe. We could have our first show ever with no live action. But one of the things that you mentioned about how much you're giving up, it's almost 100 points in the last 3 games, Wes.
Yeah. It's 7.5 is a lot of points, but not when you're playing Ottawa. So I feel good laying the 7.5, taking BC. I'm happy taking Riley. Lucky Whitehead is one of those all-purpose players that can house it every time he touches the ball. And, BC is coming off a bye, getting ready for just a really roughed up team. So I think we lay the 7.5 there, and I feel good about it.
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you have many games with CFL where you're looking and you see the total and it jumps out at you? Because I've been kind of watching the point spreads, and I'm seeing point spreads coming on these games that remind me of preseason NFL point spreads, which is they're all the same because we really have no clue what's going to happen.
Some of the totals I look at, if we're in the low 40s, I typically look at those, but it's a lot of these games are in the mid to high 30s. I mean, even what we saw with the Als and Ottawa last week with 51-29. I mean, that's rare. It's a bigger field, and they only got essentially 2 downs before they're going to make the decision to punt the ball again. And so, overs over 52 in the NFL, that doesn't scare us depending on the teams. But over 42, over 41 in a CFL game, that's not always a comfortable number. I'm looking at bad defenses. In this Ottawa game, that's a game I would look at the team total. But Winnipeg Sask, I don't see that being a shootout. These defenses are too good.
No, it makes sense. Hey, let me ask John a question. John, you know what? I remember a few times in the past when we've talked on Thursdays, you really hadn't even gotten to your Sunday games. Is that any different because you had an extra week?
No, it's there's a couple games that I'm eyeing for Sunday that I already kind of have in my mental note. But yeah, I really won't start really getting those hammered down till probably about late Saturday evening, and then really, get the plays out to my members and start getting in my own action on that part. And some of it was kind of the method of how I did it. And then now, especially because of COVID, you just never know when you might get that late, COVID, positive, and that could change up the whole situation. So really just the climate of, just today's world has kind of changed everything. So I'm a little bit extra cautious. So I tend to take things day by day, me personally. So that's just how I do it. Yep.
The Tampa Bay punter just hit a freaking bomb that landed on the 1.5 yard line. It was an incredible punt. It was like, why don't all punters punt like that? I could never understand why more punters don't punt it out of bounds. I just don't get it. All right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the same thing, John, but let's talk about it with regards to Saturday's college games.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at right now, Thursday night, with Saturday's college games?
Saturday's the same thing. I have a couple games that I've looked at, but I haven't really hammered anything down. Tomorrow, Friday, is going to kind of be, I guess, where I really get into it tomorrow night. I'm going to lay low with MLB because MLB is trickling down to, bare minimum. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to look at the lines, study the lines a little bit, and get my plays out, and we'll be ready to roll. Yeah, so that's kind of how I approach Saturday, too. I very rarely even look at lines or anything like that. I'll study it a little bit, but yeah, I don't have any plays that I got locked in or anything like that. I'll do everything tomorrow for Saturday.
Well, I've got some notes here before I ask Wes about some college stuff. Here's what I got. Some notes as I was going through the Easy Sports data to kind of just get a handle for these 80-something games. UTEP allowed 28 points to Bethune-Cookman, and now they're playing Boise State, who in their last 3 home openers have outscored the teams 120-27. So go get them, UTEP. Liberty. You know what? Liberty, remember, they play Coastal Carolina, West, South tight. Liberty's just a good football team. All Tulsa does is cover. And the last 3 road openers for Texas A&M in order were Alabama, Clemson, Alabama. So I think it's Colorado. Is it Colorado they're playing? Do you know, Wes? Yeah. So good luck. So let's give a good lucks today to UTEP and Colorado. But I'm telling you right now, they're jumping off of my radar. And there's nothing wrong, Wes, early in the year, finding a team that you're going to bet against and bet against them all year long, just like you would bet Coastal Carolina all year long.
Well, and that's the thing. If you get familiar with what a team is or isn't going to do, the name of the game is cash in tickets. So there's no merit in losing a game by trying to be different. I mean, if it keeps paying you, let it keep paying you. I mean, there's nothing against it. I don't feel any shame posting. Last season, when I posted Coastal Carolina every single week and they cashed for us 11 out of 12 games, I have absolutely no problem with it when members are making money.
The other thing that jumped out at me was these teams play so many cupcakes this time of year. Of the 9 plays I had looked at, 5 of them were off the board. The 9 teams I was looking at playing, 5 of them are off the board because they're playing, teams with one name, and it's just crazy. But I guess, you know what? You got to get the W's, right? And everybody wins when that big check comes to the AD at that school. That's for darn sure. All right, so talk to us, Blackhawk West. Friday night, I saw Coastal Carolina was hosting Kansas, and I laughed when I saw that. I almost texted you, but it was like late at night. So.
Yeah, it's Kansas basketball. That's the pro team around here, and they got their Rock Chalk Jayhawk shirts you can buy in every grocery store. So I mean, KU Lawrence is about 35 miles from Kansas City, but tomorrow night, looking at that game, 26.5 is a lot of points. I realize Coastal's coming off a big win and a big cover. 26.5 is a lot of points going to play against a Power 5 team. I realize that Kansas is not a very legitimate football program the last, decade, but that's still a lot of points. What I'm looking at with that game is the over 52. And if you let the ball kick off, it'll probably be 51.5. I think Coastal's probably going to hang 38-ish, maybe a little bit more, maybe in the 40s. But I think Kansas is going to find a way to score some points. I don't think they're going to be completely kept off the board. So in that game, I'm looking over. And then the first half Coastal is 21. If it drops to 20.5, I like the play, but I don't like it at 21. And I certainly am not going to bet against Coastal and take under 21. That's just it's just not worth it. That you may as well burn your money.
Fast. They score too fast. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, they were playing last week. Remember, we were live last week. They were playing, and they scored 21 points in a blink.
They score whenever they want, and not a lot of people even understand the name Grayson McCall. Last year, we called him G Money all season. He's one of those names that's going to show up in February, and people are going to wonder why he's the conversation to be drafted in the first round. But this is a legitimate NFL quality quarterback for the Mullets.
Yeah, and then there's 3 other games tomorrow night. I have to look at where we're going to be. So it's 6:30 my time is the UTEP Boise State game. I mean, that's just primo wedding anniversary time. 6:30. What couldn't they have done me a favor and had a little later start? I mean, if they started at like 10:30, then it's 7:30, and all of a sudden, my wife's getting tired, and instead of espressos, I'm making her drink for Angelica. At least I get the second half of the game. But again, I like Boise State a lot here because, first of all, their home record is different than their road record, and the other aspect of it is that they just got beaten. That was a tough loss for them because they looked like they were winning that game, didn't they, for a while until UCF came back?
They were on fire that first half. I think they got up to, was it 21-0? I'm not sure, but I know they had a big lead in the first half of that game. Yeah,
it was. So that's going to be Friday, and then Saturday it starts. Now there's no wake and bake show this Saturday. To be determined is not going to be on the air. However, that is not going to stop me from talking about these 9:00 games when we get back, and then we'll hop right into the NFL. But there's a couple I wanted to look at with Wes. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. Live, if it's 8:35 in New York, you're live, and we got some live action coming. I think I'm getting ready to hop on some over in this NFL game. We'll be back in 3 minutes. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At ChampionshipFootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Gramps is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, 2 things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, on the Sports Betting Channel, and I'm Second Half Chaz. As most weeks, I am joined by Black Hawk West from 151 Sports Investing and John from GMF Sports Consultants. And I just wanted to show you that even if Wake and Bake was on this week with to be determined, we would miss 3 games. The Illinois-Virginia game is 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Now, that doesn't mean I won't be on that game. It's just that it starts at 8 o'clock. So, yeah, Wake and Bake. God bless marijuana being legal here in Southern California. All right, so we're going to talk NFL for the rest of the day because it is opening weekend. Again, you go to BellyUpFantasySports.com, BellyUpFantasySports.com, and you download and get the cheat sheet, the Easy Sports Data cheat sheet for NFL Week 1, and you're going to get CFL Week 6 with it, absolutely free. And if you listen to what Black Hawk West says, you can match it up. And I would imagine to say you could go with live action and his bets, I don't know, 9-2 would be that would be acceptable. Would you not agree with that weekend, Black Hawk West? Huh? No.
I'm sure he would say yes.
That would be a good number. I couldn't hear, but I would imagine he would.
I think we all would take 9-2 any day of the week. That's
right, so
pretty
you
common. But what Wes does though.
But you're number 1 in your MLB, and he's a good football guy. You guys are a good handicapper. So let's talk since he's gone anyway.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's a couple games you're looking at for the NFL. Talk to me. What does that mean?
So
who's playing,
Yeah, exactly. So obviously I would look at one of the key matchups I was looking at Sunday would be the 49ers Detroit game. I think that's a game that you're going to see a lot of people who are on these football contests kind of key on. There's a lot of expectations that maybe, San Francisco is going to come out, and obviously Detroit is on the bottom barrel of the league. We haven't seen much of the starting quarterback Goff in the preseason, so there's a lot of speculation about that. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. And then also the Monday night game, jumping ahead a little bit to Monday, Baltimore Ravens and the Raiders. Ravens had a couple of injuries. This is a home game in Vegas in the new stadium. So we're going to get to see not only how the crowd is going to be, but also what the Raiders do in Las Vegas, and also what Carr is going to do. Kind of feel like this is almost a make or break year for Derek Carr here. I think he has to really kind of live up to the money that the Raiders gave him, the previous seasons. And this is going to see if he can kind of elevate him into that upper tier, or if he's just going to be a mid-level quarterback. So be interesting to watch those games and see the outcome of it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that, it's been a while now. It's been a while. It's not like it didn't matter where they were, LA, Oakland, Vegas. It's not like that team isn't a wee bit dysfunctional to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's that goes all the way up into the owner's box. So what are you going to do there? All right. Yep. So let's go to Black Hawk West. Do you have the 3 NFL games you were looking at, more or less? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I do. To start with, I agree with John on that, the Raiders game. I don't play Monday night games, but I love the Raiders in that game. They do well early in the season. They can't close the season out, but they do well, and they have great personnel. So I just, before I get into mine, John, I agree with you on that one. But I'm looking at New England. I think that a lot of people wrote New England off last year. I think Bill Belichick wrote the Patriots off last year. But this is the first time that Nick Saban has handed Bill Belichick a quarterback. This quarterback is essentially playing for the same coach for the last 4 years. He's now playing for the New England Patriots. He knows how to play with that kind of discipline. New England historically does not do well going to Miami early in the season, but this is Bama quarterback against Bama quarterback. I love New England. I think that the 3 is a gift. I'd be surprised if New England doesn't win by more than 7. Their defense is going to be way better than it was last year, and we're just going to see a completely different team with a preseason. So I love that play.
Yeah, I'm not sure if either of you guys saw any of the kid from Alabama preseason games, but I caught a little of one, and at one point I swear to God, if you put a 12 on him, the way he slid into the pocket, just so comfortable, and found an open area and threw a ball like 15 yards right where it needed to be. I mean, it looked so Brady-esque. It really did.
And it's follow the system. He took over for quarterbacks in Bama that were just following the system. So I like New England there. I think that's probably of all the favorites, that's the easiest one to lay. And then I got a couple dogs. I love the Saints. The Saints is 4.5, depending on where you look at it. And I like the way that they made their decision on where they were going to play the game when the Superdome in New Orleans got shut down. They chose a stadium that was the most expensive and difficult for Green Bay Packer fans to get to. But I don't think that these Saints miss a beat with Jameis Winston coming into the game. He takes more risk than Drew Brees would, and I think it's going to pay off. This Saints defense is not a bad defense at all. 4.5 is too many, and I think this has got a shot at being one of those dog outright money lines. I mean, the Saints have lost close to nothing as far as personnel other than Drew Brees. Great Hall of Fame career, but he was not the shining star of that team last year.
No, the last couple of years he's been playing hurt and stuff, but just an update on the live action. I did get the over in at 46.5, and then the team came down and scored. So, then what I'll do is mostly for me is I'll go look again and see either A, if I could even get that number, and B, if I do, how has the line changed? Because that'll get you a good clue of what the number's doing. And so I'm excited about that. All right, so let's talk about another game, Blackhawk West, because you throw out. Let's see how many games you throw out. I don't have the schedule right here. I got the college. You throw out the NFC games. That's 4 teams. You throw out Thursday normally. That's tonight. You throw out Sunday night and Monday night, right? It limits you. It limits you.
Yeah, it's the NFC East matchup. So when that division plays each other,
they got to play each other.
Yeah. So, but the other one that I'm real high on is the Pittsburgh Steelers getting 6.5 points. I understand the kind of season Buffalo is coming off of. I really do. I don't see Buffalo winning that division this year, which it's not a popular opinion, but something bad is going to happen to a team. And I don't wish bad things on good people. That's not who I am. But I think that something bad happens typically to teams like this.
Hey, John, what if you're the Kent State coach? What does that count?
So, well, that was private. That was amongst friends. So, but I look at this game and so I'm looking at Pittsburgh, right? Their defense is better by a mile. I mean, they have the best defense in football. I don't even think there's a question. Probably got Washington that could contest that a little bit, at times Miami, but Pittsburgh easily has the best defense. And they always have a very good O-line and a good run game. So, and Najee Harris, I don't know if anybody saw how this kid is playing in the preseason. It's just going to get better. So Buffalo did not have the best defense. So I really think they're going to struggle to score against Pittsburgh. I don't know that Pittsburgh outright wins the game. My personal record when choosing the Steelers is not very good. But 6.5, I mean, that's just a lot of points for an NFL game. And that's a lot of points to lay against the number one defense with a fantastic rush attack. I think Pittsburgh can kill a lot of clock. And they can score at any point. You never know where Ben's going to go. He's got some weapons at receiver. So I like the defense and the run game and the ability to kill the clock better than I like what Buffalo can do on offense and all this hype and pressure they're coming into the season with.
Well, that's a good point you made about the Pittsburgh, because, that's the teams that are dead to me list. John, do you have any teams in the NFL where, you really look at it differently, because no matter which way you go, they bite you in the ass? You ever have a team like that?
I think the Cleveland Browns will probably come into mind for me. There was some tough situations that I ran into last year with Cleveland Browns, even though they kind of finished the year pretty strong. But in the beginning of the season, I was kind of high on them, and they kind of disappointed me. At the beginning of the first game, they played Baltimore, and they got smoked by Baltimore the first game of the season last year. And so that pretty much from there on out, they were on my list there, so to speak. But yeah, besides that, not too many really. Every week is a different week, and it's that term that you're here in NFL any given Sunday. So you never know. Yeah,
we talk about it all the time. I've shown people the graphs of the record for the NFL is from 2-12 all the way to 12-2. But when you show that same graph against the spread, everybody is between 7-5 and 5-7, except for 1 or 2 every year, because the NFL is a tough nut to crack. It really is, All right. So what are you clapping over there?
I am on Dallas over 9.5 for the first half. So I'd love to see some Cowboy points.
Yeah, they had a nice drive to get no points from the goal line after that punt, but sometimes that happens. All right, let's see where we are. We got the few minutes left before. If you stay here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, you will get the Loudmouths because they follow us on Thursday. You know how much I like that show because I say it because they're loudmouths, but I like them. They got that New York attitude, and I grew up there, so it fits well with me. All right, let's do this. Let's then see if there's anything we could think about that we haven't covered that John says, oh, yeah, we need to cover that. John, anything?
Off the top of my head, not right now. Just, we're just kind of all geared up for this.
Where will you be? Will you be home? Will you be at a casino? Because you live in Vegas and I don't.
Usually what I like to do is I like to get to the sports book in the morning. I just love the feel of it, the atmosphere, being with the people. So, I'll get there, kind of feel it out, maybe have a Bloody Mary Sunday morning, maybe watch the opening kickoffs for everything, hear the roar, and then, I'll head back home and kind of relax for the rest of the day and continue to put my wages on. That's the one great thing about having your phone, especially in Nevada, is you're able to do the in-game and everything right on your phone. So that'll be pretty much it. Have a bloody, watch the game, and enjoy the beautiful Sunday that it is,
Nothing wrong with that. And then you normally go to casinos by your house, right?
Yeah, correct. I have one that's less than 5 minutes from my house, so it works out perfect. That's my local book, all the amenities that you need, great sports book, great bartenders, cheap drinks, cheap hot dogs. Can't beat it.
Yeah, and those local casinos that just because I've gone. I think I might have met you at yours.
Yeah, you did. You met me on that Red Rock.
Johnny G, right?
Yeah. So that's
it's a whole different vibe than the MGM. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. And don't get me wrong. I love the Strip. I love being on the.
So he loves being on the Strip, but then he let us go. So, but I think that's his MO now, Mo. I mean, Wes, is that he always drops off right at the end. I don't know what that is.
He's got a nice mic drop thing going on.
All right, so there he goes. So anything before we let you go, Black Hawk West, anything you could think of that you wanted to add to help us this weekend, the first weekend of the NFL season where we're betting on real games that count?
I think you tiptoe into the NFL. I think what just happened in this game is an example of don't get carried away laying points. Look at any of these big spreads and don't be afraid to take 3 points. Don't be afraid to take points. People want to cheer for the winner, but man, it feels so good to cheer for the guy that's winning when you got 9 points or you got 7 points. So, don't be afraid to take points, especially in an opening week where nobody knows what's what. And that's what I would tell everybody. And manage your bankroll. It's week one. You're not doing yourself any good if you're making a deposit on week 2.
All right, so we got 46.5 in live action. Now we have our second touchdown. That was what Black Hawk West was alluding to. He didn't actually tell us. And so obviously his feed is ahead of my feed. I have situations where I will have to go downstairs, grab the remote, pause the TV, count to 17, give him back the remote and say, you were ahead of me. I don't mind me being ahead of you, but when I got money on a game and you don't, and you're cheering for a game and I don't know what happened, but I know what you're cheering for, and it's against what I want. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's see. What else could we do? We've got to go through and just remind the guys, you can go to sportsbettingweeklylive.com. You'll always find our very last show. You normally catch us on Saturdays on To Be Determined with our 4 guests, but that is being preempted this week because 9/10/1989 I got married. So I've been married a long time to the she's the girl I wrote my sitcom script about. So sooner or later, when we're getting an Emmy, I think that's what you get for sitcoms. I'll be giving Vicky a shout out for sure. So we're going to go up to San Juan Capistrano for the day. Take the train. Always a good time on the train. We don't get a lot of trains around here. All right, let's see. What else do I got to say? Black Hawk West, one quick where can they reach you?
151 Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But you find my members page, which is Chicago Options Trader. And if you use the promo code 151 Sports, you get a pretty nice discount on your membership. You get full premium, I believe, for the first week. And you get my weekly podcast. And then you get the Monday through Friday stock market picks.
Boy, last week was a good week to do that. If you have a time machine, go back and do that last week. Talk to us, John. Where are we going to find you?
The usual GMF Sports consultant on Instagram, GMF Sports betting on Facebook. You can also hit me up on the website, and you can also hit us up on that link there on the Sports Betting Weekly. Get on board.
Yeah, now you've always got great deals on Instagram for people. So to make sure they check you out there, because that is where I think I notice more of your stuff in terms of the deals, and some of those deals are free. Really, give them the money and then make more money than that the first week. Like I said with Black Hawk West, if you joined last week, that's a pretty good first free week because you did really, really well. And of course, we'll be texting back and forth, and if there's anything jumps out, I'll be on social media Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow, I'll be on a train going to San Juan Capistrano. But we're not looking for swallows. We're looking for maybe a nice margarita with salt and some rocks. And that's really where I'm at. So thanks for watching. I am Second Half Chaz. You've been watching Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, on the Sports Betting Channel. Do us a favor. Always be cashing.